Hello, this is Kevin, and today I'm going to be reviewing Everything, Everything. This movie is about a young girl named Maddie who suffers from severe chronic immune deficiency, or SCID for short. Which basically means that she cannot, anything that's not sanitized, it could kill her. So, kinda like a certain other movie that came out, a few years ago, maybe like a decade or so ago, about a certain bubble kid. But anyway, so she lives in this sealed off house with her mom, who is a doctor, and her nurse, until one day a cute boy moves next door named Ollie, and he starts to, talk to her by texting, and they start to form a relationship, and she starts to get a little more confident, and she wants to, and she starts to get a little bit more confidence, in order to go outside. And Maddie is played by Amanda Stenberg, who some of you probably know for playing Rue in The Hunger Games. And considering she's playing a character with a chronic illness in this movie, I was kind of starting to get a little bit concerned that there might be a certain, trend in her career. But, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. And Ollie is played by Nick Robinson, not the Polygon Nick Robinson, who's friends with Griffin McElroy, or that one who got famous on Tumblr and Vine because he was in, Burger King commercials or something. Anyway, no, it's the one from Jurassic World. The teenager in Jurassic World, that kid. Yeah, he's the cute boy next door, that she falls in love with. And anyway, and she just turns 18, and she wants to, now more than ever, she wants to explore the world and go outside. And this new boy in her life, gives her the courage to finally step outside. But will she survive, or will she die? Is she really actually sick? Well, you're gonna have to find out. So, what I liked about this movie, I really liked the relationship between the two characters, between Ollie and Maddie, or Robinson and Stenberg. I really liked their relationship. I thought that they were cute. I thought it was sweet. And, and some people are probably gonna think it's a little sappy, but you know what? Whatever. It's better than being gross and wrong and whatever, but it's not. It's cute. It's nice. Okay, the way I described it, it kind of makes it sound like, that the boy is kind of like a white, he's kind of a white knight savior type of thing, but it's not really that. It's more like, he's introduced into her life, and then she starts to think about things, and, she even says in the movie, I'm not sure if it's him, it's not him, or maybe it is, I don't know, but I want to go outside. She says that at one point. Now what I liked about this, what else I liked? I liked how, okay, so Ollie and Maddie, the two teenagers, they pretty much, throughout most of the movie, they communicate through text messaging, but rather than just having, two text boxes, seeing that, throughout the whole movie, what they actually do is, see, Maddie is, she's actually, an architect. She builds these, little model buildings, and she puts, a little astronaut figurine in there because she relates to it, because she feels, trapped inside something, inside a bubble. Which, that's kind of cute. But anyway, so what happens when they text is that, it actually becomes a fantasy sequence where the two of them are actually in a life-size version of the building that she makes. And it just shows the two of them talking. But there's also, the spaceman is there too, the astronaut, so that you know that it's not real. This isn't really happening. They're not actually talking face-to-face. They're just texting. And this is just her imagination. So I thought that part was really creative, and it was really cute, and it even also goes into how close they are too. It represented, like, for example, when they first start talking, they're like sitting right next to each other in like this little diner area. But then later on in the movie, when their relationship starts to strain a bit, they're in this giant library, and he's on one side and she's on all the way on the other, and he's like trying to shout to her, but she's like, I can't be with you, or like something like that, or so yeah. But I thought that was a good technique. I really like that film technique. I think that's that was nice. I liked that. So now to get to the bad parts. So the story's not really that strong, really. I mean, you kind of have heard this story before, again, in a certain other movie that, that was in a different genre, and definitely had a different tone to it. But Bubble Butt, it's not a bad story. It's just, it's something that we've seen before, and it kind of is sort of like, it kind of is like a damsel and a prince saving, sort of like that. But he also has problems of his own too. The teenage boy, Ollie, he also has problems of his own as well. Oh, there's another thing that I thought was really confusing. Okay, so when him and his family first move in next door, he gives her mom a bunt cake. Like, him and his sister bring the mom a bunt cake, and like she's like, oh, thank you, but I'm sorry, I can't take this. And so so what he does, and he sees Maddie in the window, and he's like, he actually even asked the mom, is your daughter around? And she said no. So but anyway, so what he does, and his window just happens to be, the window of his room just happens to be directly across from her window, it's like that. And what he does, he like plays with the bunt cake, like he drops it out the window, and then he like, I think like he plays detective with it, like he's like trying to figure out like who killed it, or I think that's what he was trying to do. I couldn't really tell. I just saw that he had like the scotch in his hand. He's like, like some like hard detective trying. I think that's what he was trying to do, but I wasn't sure. And then he dressed up like a priest and blessed it, and I was like, okay, all right, sure. I mean, she seemed to be amused by it, so okay. Okay, and then there's a big plot twist around the third act, and, well, also, okay, another thing about this movie that's bad is that, you pretty much get an idea of the exact story from the trailer. Yeah, the nurse, she sees, their relationship, and she decides to let the boy in, but then the mom finds out, and then she fires the nurse, and and then there's all this, but then, she finally decides, enough is enough, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna run away with this boy, and we're gonna just go to frickin' Hawaii, and we're just gonna do all this shit, and yeah, they do that, and, so without giving too much away, there is a certain plot twist around the third act, and, it kind of puts things in perspective, and, it's kind of, it's a little disturbing, but it's also kind of disappointing at the same time. And it kind of makes you realize, okay, this story should have been about something completely different. And, I can go into detail about that right now, and if you want to just skip the spoilers, you could just skip to this part of the video right here, because I'm about to enter spoilers. Okay, so the plot twist is that it turns out that Maddie is actually not really sick. In fact, it turns out that her mom completely misdiagnosed her after her brother and her father tragically died in an accident when she was just an infant. And then she got sick, and her mom freaked the frick out and just decided to keep her locked away for the rest of her life because she didn't want anything happening to her. So, yeah, the mom literally misdiagnosed her own daughter and to keep her prisoner inside her house. That's kind of messed up. I think the movie should have been about the crazy relationship of that. Like, ugh, yikes. Oh, and then the boy, then Ollie, he and his family, they moved back to New York because his dad is like he has an abusive father, and his mom can't, she doesn't have the courage to run away, but then because Maddie went outside and she did something so courageous, I guess it's implied that she, inspired her in order to leave. So they leave back to New York, which is where they're originally from. And so she actually, so then at the end of the movie, Maddie decides to move away from her mom. And I think that she is staying with the nurse, I think. They weren't really too clear about that, but at the end she goes back to New York to meet up with Ollie, and then they live happily ever after. So, no, she does not die at the end of the movie. So thank heavens. Mandla Stenberg she is not going to be the next generation's Sean Bean. So bravo to that. So that's a good thing. Oh, yeah, and another thing. So it turns out that even though she doesn't have SCID, she still does have a very weak immune system, because she hasn't been exposed to any kind of bacteria, for pretty much all 18 years of her life. So, yeah, and that actually happens when they go on their trip to Hawaii, and she actually does get sick, and she nearly dies, and so she thinks that it's because of, her illness, but it turns out it's actually just because, she just contracted a virus, and her doctor said that, well, people get sick all the time, but you just have a really weak immune system. But you don't have SCID, though, because if you had SCID, you would have just died right then and there. So yeah, she does have a weak immune system, which makes sense, because she hasn't been exposed to any kind of bacteria, so why would she have a strong immune system? So, that being said, I don't think New York's exactly the best place to go first thing after, I think you might want to start growing a bit. I think you need to give your body a little more time to grow a bit more immunities before going to New York. And I know, I'm from there. I'm from New York. Well, I'm not from New York. I'm from Long Island. But I go to New York a lot. I go to the city a lot. And, yeah, not exactly the cleanest place. Not the best place to go if you have a weak immune system. Okay, so overall, what did I think about this movie? I mean, if you want to see a nice romance movie, which, there's not that many out, especially nowadays, there aren't that many good romances, I would give this one, this one my approval. I think I think their relationship is cute. I think that Stenberg and Robinson, I think they do have great chemistry together. And so yeah, if you're into that, if you're a sucker for that kind of thing, I say go for it. I say go watch the movie. But if like a certain third act plot twist, that one, if it's gonna like be a little like if you're more story driven and you don't want to be disappointed by any kind of plot twists, maybe you should skip out on it. But if you're just a sucker for romance, I say it's a good movie for you. So overall, I give everything in my rating system of bad, okay, good, and great. I give everything and okay, because romance is good, but story bad. So that's what I think. Alright, so stay tuned for my review of Alien Covenant. And in the meantime, I will see you guys later. Bye!